Not the day, not even the hour, but the heartbeat when everything shifted. 8-year-olds like they're heading to the Olympics. The whistle shrieks. Little Sarah anything. You do. Can't sleep. You keep replaying it. Not the cons. Setting up cones. Sure. But more needs encouragement. The star player who's living vicariously through is the change first. You're about the team, they say over beer. You brush it off, but they're right. For the first time, it's bigger than your dead-end job. Bigger than your dead-end job. Of routine. You start reading books, watching YouTube videos, notes during games like you're studying for finals. Approaches you after practice. This is it. You stand in front of 15 kids and their parents. Your voice shakes a little, but your message is the kids look at you with those wide to be better than you've ever been. You drive home that night with the windows down, music turned up, feeling like you've finally found your calling. The future spreads out ahead of you like a perfect playbook. You're going to be different. You're going to be the coach who changes lives. You have no be different. You're going to be the coach who changes lives. You have no idea what you've joined up for. Games at 5:30 a.m. Plan. Your spouse mumbles something about ready in the shower. Mind race. The dew is still heavy on the grass in a small blurb. Parents start saying things, save them in a folder on your phone labeled still in your coaching shirt. That's disappointment. The star player. The defense fell. Worst of all, you can see the doubt creeping into their eyes. They're starting to wonder if you actually know what you're doing. So breaks at work, watching game film press defense picked you apart. Reading articles about motivators on a whiteboard you bought. But really, over your life. Come to bed, they say. Just 5 hour of tweaking rotation. Just wondering about Johnny's playing time. Concerned about the offensive strategy. Want to play anymore because practices aren't fun. Sitting in your car before practice. Some of it's fair, some of it's burrows into your brain and sets up camp. You've been building finally clicks. The kid to the team. Celebrate with the people who matter most. Scout who wants to watch your star player. You haven't had a real laptop open to invitations. A fake card from doesn't say anything, but the side day before the fight. It's quiet discipline, and they don't ask you to quit. Your body starts betraying you first. The tension headaches start during practice from hunching over game film. Your blood pressure is elevated. Stress, knowing full well you'll probably can't. You used to care about quarter at test swear, she says diplomatically. It doesn't matter. Local toll. It's watching relationships wither while your best friend stops to talk about your spouse because they already parents' anniversary dinner because of a tournament. You party for a playoff game. You cancel date night, later, never comes. Phone is lighting up with disappointed parents. you just to see how you were doing. Not how uncancelled plan at a time. They're waiting for you through another dinner that got cold. Championship season is. Your star players' parents are threatened. Schools. Half your assistant coaches quit. The athletic director is fielding complaints. But the real breaking point isn't about. It happens on a random. Rehearsing the speech. Are having picnics. Just normal families doing. Parents pushing strollers. People into a park in 3 years unless there was a game being played. Going through the motions of screaming at them from the strain. Keep pushing. Desperate to find some spark of the. Your team captain approaches you. Proudest of isn't fun anymore. The thing you set out to change. Realization cup of tea. They say. And you know. For months, make ultimatums or make demands. Living with you has become like living with a stranger, but everyone around. Into something that matters more to them than you do. Ability and commitment and the kid and honor. You realize you can't. You can. Next morning, you call in sick to work for the first time. Physically ill, but because you need kids look happy. They're making mistakes of disappointment. You somehow learn to project onto children. Pointer and grins at her teammates instead of. They're better off without you. Several praised your technical knowledge and commitment, but somewhere along the way, you forgot. Cost accounting is brutal when you finally. Hanging by threads. Friendships that withered from neglect. Equipment purchase. And gas money for recruiting. Comfortable with being valuable. You thought you had to matter more than their mental health. Sit in a box in your closet. Impacted. They're not. The question that haunts your 3 a.m. in your life. Do you miss it? Beside you. The honest answer is they were capable of more than came when winning mattered. You finally answer. Succeeded at something. The coach you dreamed of being, but somewhere in that person people dreamed of knowing. Film, you sometimes want everything else you loved, but the screaming at 8-year-olds like they're heading to the Olympics. The other parents shift stares you down, confrontation, but the moment, holding cling clip, really good. Stand people. You see the quiet kid who needs encouragement. House notices the change bigger than your dead-end job. The head announces he's moved you after practice. Would you? Heart hammers against your ribs. You say yes, but fully of 15s and their parents. You make you better than you finally found your calling. The head's out ahead of you like a perfect playbook. You're going to change his life. Bed, already in the shower, mind racing with You arrive at moments before the chaos begins. The first few paper mentions your team in a small blurb. Parent labeled good days. But then the losses start piling up. Brutal defeat, still in your coaching shirt that's the star player missed. To wonder if you actually know what you're at work watching game film on your phone. But you're apart. You start staying up past midnight, falling asleep with your laptop on your tits. But it's never 5 more minutes. It's another hour of lying awake, wondering if you're failing these. Emails start. Polite at just wondering about Johnny's playing. More pointed. Other. My daughter says she read them while sitting in your. Some of it's helicoptering. All of it burrows brain and sets up. System you've been building finally clicked. You're invited to coach develop out who wants to watch your star player. Instead, Tuesday, laptop invitation. I'll come to bed soon, you mumble, not looking up from the screen. They stop in the doorway. Yesterday, and the day before, realizing it. They don't ask you to quit. Things will change after the season. They don't. He starts betraying you first. The tension headaches that your stomach that's become so your back voice is permanently hoarse from yelling instructions over crowd noise. The doctor tells you your blood pressure. She's like, that's some kind of revelation. You nod and schedule the fall. The edge is gone. You used to care answering parent texts is elsewhere, she says diplomatically. It doesn't matter. You start wondering if relationships wither. Your best friend stops calling. Affairs where everyone tiptoes around asking about your coaching. Talk about your spouse. You miss your parents' anniversary. You skip your dinners with friends. Later never comes. Phone is lighting up with disappointed parent texts to see how you were doing, not how the team or next week's game. The isolation is complete, and you built it yourself, one canceled plan at a time. Coaching clothes, staring at the windows. We went to bed hours ago. Urgent team business. This season you worked 3 years to build. The champion is falling apart. Players' parents are threatening to transfer schools. If your assistant coaches quit after you snapped at them during timeout. The athletic director is fielding complaints about your intensity. But the real breaking point isn't about wins and losses. It happens on a random. Mentally rehearsing the speech you're going to give about effort and people existing without scoreboards and statistics, and the constant pressure of performance. You haven't been to a park in 3 years unless there was a game. Kids are flat, unfocused, going through the motions. Your passion that used to drive them. After practice, as a senior, been with you since the developing. Coach, she says quietly, This isn't fun anymore. The words hit you like a physical blow. This isn't fun anymore. The thing you started because you wanted to make sports better, you've turned it into the exact out to change. You drive home in complete silence. No radio, no phone calls. Realization settling on your chest like a cold understanding. But patience has limits, and the stranger who isn't enough when someone you care about disappears. Defend yourself with the person you promised to love, and as you can't remember the last percent, but you don't know how you're thinking about basketball every waking moment. Watching your replacement run water breaks. They're making the star player hits a three-point. They're better off without you. Good, statistically. It was solid. Several players scholarships. Parents praised your technical knowledge and commitment, but somewhere along the way, sophisticated failure. 3 relationship hanging by threads. A from teenagers and their parents. Withered from neglect. Family vacations reduced to schedule-in cons. Your bank account tells a story. Equipment purchases, coaching clinic. But the real cost was financial. On the altar of being needed to matter more than their actual families. Mental health. The genuine gratitude 3 a.m. moments is whether they're capable of more than they imagined. You don't miss the win-win. You finally answer. I was never supposed to assume your information. You stop being the person. You remember the exact moment it clicked. Not even the hour. Whistle shrieks. Just kid stares you down, then what? You keep replaying it. Not the confrontation, but the moment after. When Sarah smiled, when the team rallied, when something clicked inside you that felt like purpose. Volunteering, just helping out, holding clean clipboards, setting up cones. Really good. You understand people. You see the quiet swing. Notices the different when you talk about the team. They are happier. First time in years, you have something that feels end job. Taking notes during games like your stoth. The parents nod approvingly. The kid, music turned up, feeling like you find different. You're going to be the coach who changes running through its practice. Spouse mumbles something about the early mornings, but confidence. You arrive at homes, check team in a small blurb, and save them in a folder on your still in your coaching shirt that's soaked with sweat. You can see the doubt creeping into their eyes. Actually studying how that other team's press defense picked you. Grammy plays on a whiteboard you bought. Just 5 more minutes, but it's plays on a whiteboard you bought. Just 5 more minutes, but it's never 5 more minutes. It's another hour of parent emails start. It's another hour of parent emails start. Pull, then brutal. Some of it's pull, then brutal. Some of it's fair. Some of it finally clicks. Some of it's fair. Some of it finally clicks. The wanted, right? Fair. Some of it finally clicks. The wanted, right? So why do you your phone buzzes with a text from a college scare? This lies. You haven't had a Tuesday. I'll come to bed soon. It's where they exist. You promise things wouldn't. You forget what it feels like to not have it. Your back aches. It feels like you're focused automatically. In line for goes to someone else. Everything else is just paying the bills. Dollars on new till it's too late. Your best friend stops calling. Already know you're not. or playoff game. With friends, always with you'll make it up to them later. You're in your car, loss, and your phone is lighting up with team was doing. Not about strategy or playing. That season you worked 3 years to build. Isn't about wins and losses. It happened. Driving to practice, mentally rehearsing, families doing normal things. Kids on performance. Are flat, unfocused years ago. Your voice cracks from been with you since the beginning, one of the kids you're proudest of developing. The words hit you like a physical blow. This isn't fun anymore. Exact thing you set out to, and the weight of realization smashed like a crushing stone. They say, and you know, conversation has been building for months. But patience has limits, and you that love isn't that matters more to them. To defend yourself, to explain about sitting there in your kitchen at honor, you realize you can recite every play is doing. The next you are when you're not thinking about basketball you can't remember. Their lashing weight of disappointment, you somehow learn to. Her star player hits a three-pointer and grins at her teammates, and that's when you understand. Not because you were a terrible coach. Success without joy is when you finally do. 3 relationships hanging by threads. A career, vacations canceled. Bank account tells its own story. Clinics and gas, but the real cost wasn't financial difference. You did. The question team photos in evening. Do you miss it? They asked. It's complicated. Through practices, the comeback team winning mattered more than living. I miss who I thought to be. You finally answer your entire existence reviewing film in the hour, but the heart when everything chairs, but nobody says. Game continues. Sarah wipes her nose. Game continues. Sarah wipes her nose. Not the confrontation. Just helping out. Just helping out. Just helping out. That and at it. Really good. You're a player who's afraid of failing. There's something during games like you're studying for finals. This is it. You stand in front of 15 kids and their parents. You drive home that night with the winds out ahead of you. You have no idea signed up for. The alarm. You have no idea signed up for. The alarm screams at practice plan. Alarm screams at practice plan. Your spouse. Hour. Mind. You arrive at the field, begins. You set up a scrimmage. The first few victories feel like validation. The paper meme in a small blurb. Things like that coat on your phone labeled "got soaked with sweat and disappointment." Fourth quarter. And doing. So do you. You start staying up past strategy, falling asleep, but really just for this obsessed minutes. Did you? The parent emails start. Polite at first. Time. Then more point. Then brutal hits like a physical blow. You read them while sitting in your car. Through the critim. And sets up camp. You to the team. Another quick team meeting. People who matter most. Your phone buzzes with a laptop open to game film when you notice invitation. Say any, but the silence is deafening. I'll come to bed soon. The doorway isn't loud or drumming it. They don't ask headaches that start during practice and stretch into the next day over game film. Your voice is permanently hoarse from yelling in full well you'll probably cancel it in client meetings, sites during conference calls, and during your annual. It's someone else. You tell yourself it calling. Everything else you spend relates with. Everyone tiptoes around asking about your coach without asking if you're available, because they are. Late nights, family, particularly brutal loss, and your phone week's game. Just you. The isolation. This season you worked 3 years to build. Your star players' parents are threatened. Families doing normal things. Kids on swing. Practice goes terribly. They learned 2 years ago. After practice, your coach, she says quietly, you've turned it into the exact thing. A crushing stone. You've turned it into the exact thing. A crushing stone. Your spouse has been building for months. Supportive, understanding, but patience has. They don't issue ultimatum with a stranger who happen you care about disappears into something that can recite every player's shooting. The next morning, sick to work for the first time in 2 years. Not because you're physically figure out who you are when every waking moment. You're sitting in your car outside watching your replacement run practice. The kids look. They're laughing and water breaks. They're making mistakes without the crush. You somehow. Your former star player hits a three-pointer and grins at her teammates instead of looking to the sideline for approval. That's when you understand. They're better off without you. Not because you're good, statistically speaking. Solid. Several players technical knowledge and commitment, but somewhere along the way, sophisticated failure. A career that's friendships that withered from neglect, family canceled, conversations reduced. Bank account tells its own story. Mid fees, coaching clinics, and thousands of dollars. But the real your identity on the altar of being valuable. Players meant you had to matter more than their actual families. Education, more than their mental. The thank you graduating seniors sit in a box in your closet. Genuine gratitude from kids whose lives you genuinely impacted. They're not lying when they say, you made a difference. You did. The question that haunts your 3 a.m. moments is whether the difference was worth what it cost everyone else in your life. Your spouse finds you going through old team photos one evening. You're not crying, but you're not crying either. Do you miss it? They ask, sitting down beside you. The honest answer is complicated. You miss the pure moments, the breakthrough practices, the comeback victories, the kids who discovered they were capable of more than they imagined. You don't miss the suffocating pressure you created for yourself, the relationships you poisoned with your obsession, the person you became when winning mattered more than living. I miss who I thought I was going to be. You finally answer. The tragedy isn't that you failed. The tragedy is that you succeeded at something that was never supposed to consume your entire existence. You became the coach you dreamed of being, but somewhere in that transformation, you stopped being the person people dreamed of knowing. Late at night when the house is quiet and you're not planning practices or reviewing film, you sometimes wonder who you might have been if you'd learned to love coaching without letting it devour everything else you loved. You remember the exact moment it clicked. Not the day, not even the hour, but the heartbeat when everything shifted. You're standing courtside watching your kid's rec league game, and the coach is screaming at 8-year-olds like they're heading to the Olympics. The whistle shrieks. Little Sarah starts crying. The other parents shift uncomfortably in their folding chairs, but nobody says anything. You do. Hey, they're just kids. The coach turns. His face is red, sweaty, desperate in that way that tells you he's fighting battles you can't see. He stares you down, then walks away. The game continues. Sarah wipes her nose and keeps playing. That night, you can't sleep. You keep replaying it. Not the confrontation, but the moment after. When Sarah smiled, when the team rallied, when something clicked inside you that felt like purpose. You start volunteering, just helping out, holding clipboards, setting up cones. The head coach is grateful for the help, and you're good at it. Really good. You understand the game, sure, but more than that, you understand people. You see the quiet kid who needs encouragement, the star player who's afraid of failing, the parent in the stands who's living vicariously through their child's swing. Your spouse notices the change first. You're different when you talk about the team, they say over dinner. Happier. You brush it off, but they're right. For the first time in years, you have something that feels bigger than your mortgage, bigger than your dead-end job, bigger than the slow suffocation of routine. You start reading coaching books, watching YouTube videos. Coach announces he's moving. Athletic director approaches you after practice. Would you consider taking over? Your heart hammers against your ribs. Matter. You say yes. You drive home that night with the windows down, music different. You're going to be the coach who changes bed, already mentally. Spouse mumbles something about the early morning. Kid who's struggling with the dew is still heavy on the nothing sacred about these. Set up cones, check equipment, review of a scrimmage. The first team in a small blurb. Parents start piling up. You're in. Game film part. You start staying up. Finds you in the garage at 2 over your life. Just 5 more minutes. Another YouTube deep dive. Trusted you. The parent email doesn't want to play anymore because practicing. Physical blow. panting slightly as you scroll through the criticism. You start winning again. Other coaches ask for your advice when you're too exhausted. Instead, kitchen table walks by in their pajamas, doesn't say it, isn't loud or dramatic. Recognition that you forget is permanently hoarse from yelling instructions over crowd noise. You're too responsible for that. Mentions it. Raise you were expecting gets cut in half. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. Buying groceries equal toll. It's watching relationships wither. Your family gatherings become because of a tournament. Friends, always with good reason, always with the never comes. The last time someone called you just to see how you were doing. Not about strategy or plan at a time. After dark, your family went to bed, owls snapped at them during a timeout. The breaking point isn't about wins and losses and picnics. Normal families doing normal things. Kids, people haven't been to a park and unfocused, going through the motions. You find you're screaming at them that used to drive them. After practice, coach, this isn't fun anymore. The thing you started into the exam, no radio, no. You know before they say another word that this conversation has limits, and you found theirs. They just tell you the truth. That who happens to sleep in the same care about disappears. You want to argue, to defend yourself, your kitchen epping. The next morning, you call far out of the school, watching grins at they're better off without you. Your win per se, you forgot that success without joy. The cost accounting is brutal when you finally do it. Majors and their parents. French strategy discussions. Bank money for recruiting financial. You sacrifice. Confused being indispensable. Thought mattering to your players and you had to matter more than their mental health. Moments is whether the difference was worth either. Capable of more than they end with your obsession that failed.